All right, welcome everybody. It's been a marathon today. We've had series of conversations that have started with the launch of the thesize platform. The platform's been live and running with a 10,000 plus strong community. We are now live on the Android Play Store. So Google Play Store is the place you can go download the app. iOS is coming up soon. Without further ado, let me now invite and introduce our next speaker for the day. I'll first introduce her and then the person who's going to be in conversation with her. I have with us joining Konika Chadha, who's the head of professional search and regional market leader for Korn Ferry in India. She's responsible for developing and growing the search practices across sectors through client acquisition, engagement, and delivery. In her current role, she leads the search business for leadership and mid-level hires. Given her experience as a business and HR leader and strong credentials in leadership placements, she comes with a keen business acumen and understanding of the search verticals she leads. With over 20 years of accomplished experience in the field of talent acquisition across all levels and different sectors, she is recognized in India as a strong leader in search and has received multiple recognitions, including the Exceptional Woman Leader from the Women's Economic Forum in 2018 and her Rising Award in 2019 for Women in HR. Prior to joining KF, she's had extensive experience with leading organizations like ICICI Prudential, American Express, GE, and Bharti Airtel Limited in the domains of talent acquisition, sales, generalist, and HR transformation roles. She has received various awards for her exemplary work in the organizations that she's been associated with in her prior stints, and some of them being Gold Award with Airtel, Platinum Award with American Express, various awards at Genpact, and the Top Notchers Award in ICICI Prudential. She's a postgraduate in management from TVU London and also holds a certification in strategic human resources management from IIM Ahmedabad. Welcome. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here amongst us today. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure's all mine, Shreya. It's lovely to be here, and congratulations to the whole team for your launch. And I'm very excited about your endeavor. I would say it's actually everybody's endeavor in terms of what you guys are set to achieve. So
thank you so much. Thank you. And in conversation today to start this is Rajpreet, who's our founder. After a successful corporate career of 16 years, straddling both corporate treasuries at TCS and Bharti Group and the banking industry, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, State Street, Rajpreet discovered her calling as an entrepreneur and she founded thesize in 2020. She's always been very passionate about contributing towards an inclusive world, and the coming together of a rich corporate experience and this passion resulted in the launch of thesize, which is India's emerging femtech platform that provides personalized solutions towards challenges faced by women in career, relationships, and health within a trusted environment. thesize endeavors to combine the transformative power of people, cutting-edge technology, psychology, and neurosciences to drive behavior change at scale, both at a personal and an organizational level. Rajpreet is an MBA from MDI Gurgaon, an FRM and computer science engineer. She completed her entrepreneurship program from Wharton and is a gold medalist from IIFD Ministry of Commerce. She's a certified counselor and an NLP coach. She's currently pursuing her International Coaching Federation certification and is envisioning to make coaching a mainstream transformative service in India. She's also researching the fields of neurosciences and applications of other behavioral techniques like transaction analytics, Get Salt, and NLP. She's married to Amandeep and is blessed with a lovely daughter, Bani. She believes that if you want to fly fast, fly alone, but if you want to fly far, fly together. Without much ado, let me hand it to Rajpreet and to Konika to take this conversation ahead. Wonderful to be sharing and starting this off in some form. Looking forward to the insights from this one. Thank you and stay locked.
Thank you, Shreya. Thanks so much for the warm introductions. And Konika, so it's, listening to all the accolades to you, I think it's really been a marathon and, very relevant for the topic. And I think the best speaker that we could have got to, really talk about it, given the entire experience. So Konika, how would you define a career marathon? And why is it important to think of career as a marathon?
No, great. And thanks, Rajpreet. Like I said, I'm really excited about, what this platform is all about. And I would also like to thank you for bringing out career as a marathon, as a concept. Trust me, it has been music to my ears when you spoke to me about this topic, because, today what's really happening is, when you're speaking with the newer generation, which is coming into the workforce, you hear so much about gig workers and gig economy and jobs which are contractual, which are short term. And in that space, there have been so many times experts come to me, or professionals seek our opinion in terms of how do we make it more sustainable? What do we do so that it's a long-term proposition and not a short one? So what's happening today is, and obviously a very important factor for that being the changes that we are facing in the external environment, that our focus and goalpost is changing very, very often. Now, if you personally ask me career marathon, the way I look at it, and I remember one of my leaders very earlier on in my career when I had started working mentioned that, listen, so how long do you, so she asked me the question, how long do you plan to work? So for that, for a second, I was, taken aback. What do you mean by how long am I supposed to work? I said, for as long as I can work. So she said, that means at least 30, 40 years, if not less. So that's absolutely there. Now, in that 30, 40 years, if you really look at it, it is a marathon. It is not a sprint of 100 meters. It's not that I am supposed to do this job and this role. It is about how do I navigate my career, and what are some of those decisions I should be making, which will ensure that, it is that long haul of 30, 40 years that I am really looking at. So instead of being myopic, saying, let me pick up this job or this task because it suits me today, I always suggest that please look at it. Does it, really come into the view of the longer term vision you have for yourself as a professional? So looking at that, very rightly said, it is a marathon that each of us are running. It is not a 100-meter sprint that we are running, or a relay for that matter that we are running.
Oh, absolutely, Konika. And, I can completely relate to it. And the marathon really requires that kind of a grit and perseverance as well, which really keeps you going. So, Konika, one thing which, there's a lot of which concerns me, of course, and it's again a lot talked about matter, that over the last 5 years data, if you see, there's been close to a 50% drop that happens, when at the entry level vis-a-vis the senior, very senior level kind of jobs. So for women, so, why do you think there's such a steep drop, and what do you think can women do as individuals as well as organizations do to make, women sustain this marathon?
Rajpreet, I think what you called out is something which, industry, countries, economies are actually struggling to really cope up with today. And I think the lens at which we have to look at this issue today has suddenly become far more, I would say, severe than it was actually a couple of years back. Before I address on what anybody needs to do, I would like to just throw some light on some real statistics which got published last year. And I don't know if you've gone, or anybody who's watching has gone through it. While there is a lot of conferi related information you'll find on especially C-suite and board level representation, there's another very interesting report by McKinsey. Now, if you look at that report, which is on, women at the workplace in 2020, which they published, even in a country like the US or in the Americas, can you beat it that when you look at that funnel of a C-suite versus the entry level, the representation of women at the entry level was 47%, but by the time you come to the C-suite, it was at 21%.
20%, yeah.
So that's we're talking about probably one of the most developed and advanced nations in the world. India, unfortunately, we don't have such detailed statistics, but we are not way off than this. We would probably be at a much more severe juncture, but I think there is a lot of intent the organizations have. There's a lot of recognition that organizations have today that, they need equal representation, which is there at the workplace for various reasons. Okay. And there are, honestly speaking, there are a lot of challenges actually that women come across today. So when you ask the question, what women can do, I think I'll just take a few seconds to talk about what was the research which spoke about what are the challenges that women tend to face. And in this challenge, you will also get an answer on what they can really do. So I'm going to just flip it around a little bit if that's okay with you. Today, if you look at it, and especially the last 2 years because of COVID, this number has actually taken a beating. And it is not about just women at the workplace. There is a huge dropout of girls in India, even at the school level. So, that whole education piece, which the government and so many initiators were being driven, which were taken care of, even there is a very big fallout, which needs a lot of attention as well. So today, if you look at it, there is there is a significant amount of uncertainty that the women are dealing with in terms of, how are they going to really juggle between the various responsibilities that suddenly they have, because, they are caregivers, they have to manage the house, the kids are studying, from home. Their spouses or parents, whoever, whether they're single or with family or married, suddenly the responsibility is kind of really increased. Organizations, while we say are flexible and we are working in a hybrid environment, but there's another problem that has got coupled with it, because everybody is 24/7, literally. So I think while at some point in time work from home was supposed to be regarded as something everybody was running after, today, trust me, in the morning I was talking to somebody, a client, I would not want to name, and that person actually brought about the fact that there's somebody in their team who's saying, when will I get a break? I need to come to the office, because that cycle is not breaking today. The other is performance. People who are working, performance management systems. And so this is a dual answer for the organization and, the challenge. Performance, how are they being managed is not very clear, because the goalpost is changing, and hence the way you're evaluating employees to do that work needs to change as well. The other piece is, if they are facing challenges, whether it is at home or at work, we've seen there are more and more women who are uncomfortable speaking about it, because they feel they will be judged, or it may be looked at in a very negative way, and hence there is resistance in terms of them really coming up and opening and sharing what they are going through. And last but not this least, which is that they are feeling blindsided, because there is not proper communication which is happening, which is there between, let's say, managers, peers, etc. So it's a combination of factors which is making it a little bit more difficult for them to survive. Now, what does this really mean for them? I think first and foremost, it is important we speak up. If we are uncomfortable with something, we have to talk about it. Whether we identify as somebody as a mentor and as a trusted advisor within the organization we are working, maybe, like you said, there could be a life coach. There are counselors available today. I think mental health is very important. It is not just about physical well-being. If you are pressurized, if you're challenged, it is important to speak up and voice out that what is it that is bothering you. And I'm sure there are experts today. I think your platform hopefully is one of them, which will provide this kind of an avenue to women, where they should really talk about what it is and then find a solution. The problem is, we women think we will solve everything on our own. We don't like to reach out. So that's the third one. It is important to reach out. At the workplace, it is important to have that communication with your manager, with your team members. There are people who are in team roles. It's even harder for them, because they have their team to address, they have their own concerns and their expectations from, their supervisors and managers in terms of what they have to perform to. So I think that's important. Communication, being, transparent and open about what's really bothering them. And last but not the least, it's a very important statement. When there is an opportunity, please lean in and take it up. Do not wait for a time to say, okay, I am 100% ready, so now I should. Trust me, and I know this is getting recorded. When you go to a man will not, the men will never say, I'm 100% ready. They'll be 70% ready and they'll be happy to jump in. And they say, we'll figure it out. I think we tend to be perfectionists. Women tend to be perfectionists. So it's important when there is an opportunity, please make yourself heard that I'm interested in doing that. I'm taking my career seriously. I want to take that next level. You will have to talk about it. Don't wait for somebody to come to you. So there was a study which was done about 4 years back by Corn Ferry for the C-suite. And you'll be surprised to know that of the 50 Fortune 500 CEOs that were there, almost all of them agreed with the fact somebody told them that they could be a CEO one day. So I think that's what we will all have to change amongst ourselves. And obviously then there's a whole list that the organizations can do, being more humanitarian, looking at the emotional quotient and not just the intelligence quotient of people, which is there, making goals more sustainable. Performance management really needs to change. There has to be a break. When you're saying flexible, then what do you define flexible as? And then please have the policies and procedures adapted to that change. You can't change working hours and not have policies change alongside. So I think there's a lot, but the most important piece for an organization is communication. For employees, men or women, like equally, they should not feel blindsided that what is it that the organization is trying to achieve. So I think there are multiple factors, but for us, I can't say women, I can say for all of us, I think we have to be far more confident. And when we see an opportunity, if we don't see an opportunity, create one. At least tell them that there is an opportunity that exists and I'm interested in taking that up. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely, Konika. I think you've touched on various important aspects, and a lot of them, right from initially, I think when you spoke of, the entire, I would say the biological clock, as well as, the family situations being there at the entry level. You spoke of girl education. There's also research which shows that women are, equally ambitious when, even after becoming mothers, to continue in the workforce as much as men are. However, the stats show otherwise because of various deterrents. And, you also spoke of a lot that the organization could do, be it in terms of the appraisal system and, where especially for support functions, at times it's very difficult to evaluate and there could be, important decisions that are taken. And I also believe that, in SACHIs, for example, we are actually creating that safe space where women can really confide into and take this, advice from experts who've really been there, and not really learn it the harder way. So, as you're mentioning, so we should just go out and reach out to the support system that we're trying to build. And, there are these 4 or 5 people that we need in our closer circle as a board, which we are trying to, provide through this platform, strong ecosystem. So thanks, for touching on such important points. Moving on, I would like to ask you that, what are some of the skills that are required, from a future of work perspective? And also, so maybe something on millennials, but I'll ask that later. Yeah.
Sure. So I think if you really talk about Rajpreet, future of work, there are major shifts that have happened, which are resulted today in the type of skills and competencies that, people need to have, and how they need to relook at themselves when they're looking at an employability factor, if I may put it like that. So some major shifts which I will call out for business leaders, employees, whoever say, which kind of remains, unanimous, is first of all, there is a power shift. Now, this power shift, how it has shifted is, it is no longer a power with the organization. It is now with the people. It's the employees driving the show, or leaders driving the show to a very, very large extent. Today, profit is about mutual prosperity. It is not about just the organization making money. Today, employees are also wanting to see how is it that they can, benefit from the profit sharing or the growth of the organization. And hence, a lot of compensation models, as you will see, and you've been in the financial services industry, you'll understand that's changing today, which we probably, 20, 25 years back, we didn't hear of these kind of combinations happening. And another very important factor is, it is not me, it is we, from an organization perspective. Now, what does that really mean is, today as employees, or as people who are looking at going to work, we will have to reinvent ourselves. What is it? We have to be very focused in identifying what is happening in our field. And we have to continuously work towards upskilling ourselves today. Because what was true 4, 5 years, 10 years back is no longer true today. Today, let's say, for example, technology itself. There are newer programs, newer ways of working which are coming in. Now, what does that mean? Can I go to a role of, let's say, artificial intelligence and in deep learning without any certification or experience in it? Unfortunately not. But can I go back and upskill myself by enrolling in certain programs and becoming more hireable? Absolutely, you can. So that's why it is important we reinvent ourselves. Today, there is a lot of scarcity, if I really talk about it, whether it is analytics, it is data science, it is technology. Let me also tell you, risk and compliance is another very important field where there is a lot of requirement of people. And that has become even more glaring, and information security, because of everything becoming digital. And that whole ecosystem of security and compliance and regulatory being very different from what it used to be at some point in time. So these are all the skills today, if you really look at it, which are in high demand, and which would also mean that people who come with the skill command a price. So if you are there doing any of this work, I think need to know what's happening more, and how is it that you can be out there to be able to position yourself better. I think the other important piece is really, it is about taking up more accountability in terms of what you're doing. You have to be ready that, your jobs are far more fluid than what they used to be at some point in time, because of the entire environment, which is so dynamic today. So I think putting your hand up there and being ready, saying, I did not sign up for this, is no longer going to help you in any way. So somewhere that agility is which is going to be much needed, and organizations are actually looking at people coming with that agile mindset. So there's a huge list, but I think these are some 4, 5 areas and trends or skill sets, I would say, I would like to call out. I think you're on mute, Rajpreet.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thanks, Konika. So I think all the viewers, are listening out closely, and on these skill sets. And Konika, what message would you have for, say, the millennials, and for the women who are in their mid-career stage, for both of them?
Sure. So I think for millennials, this whole topic and conversation is very important. And I know some of them may want to kill me for this, but please remember, career is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So please start taking hold of your planning exercise. Don't think short term, think long term. I know today long term's definition has changed. It is not like when we started off in our careers, but please do be mindful of the steps you're taking today and how it's going to define your future. So have that larger lens in terms of decision making. And when I'm talking about women at their mid careers, or at stage where they are at a certain level in their career or in life, want to restart, or they want to go ahead, what is going to be very important is please get out of your comfort zone. Don't think what got you here is going to take you ahead in the future. Our generations, are brighter, sharper, which means that all of us have to really, really work towards upskilling ourselves and still being employable out there. So please get out of your comfort zone and invest in yourselves for continuous learning and upskilling.
Absolutely. I think that's the word, that's the theme also that we are kind of advocating in the Unstoppable event right now going on, which is invest in yourselves. And I think women really shy away from doing that. They'll spend all the time and all the money for caring for the family. But when it comes to themselves, yes, they do take a backseat. But, thanks for bringing that out. And, so I would say that, Konika, we would also like to understand, how can women find more avenues to get considered for these senior positions at work? And, how do these avenues really emerge for them?
So I think, Rajpreet, if you really look at it, I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier. Somewhere we will have to be very vocal about the fact that, this is the path that we want to take. Most of the time than not, women do not go and talk about it, that, okay, this is my goalpost. I want to take up that CFO role in the organization. How can I get there? Can I go back to my manager or mentor or anybody and, be very open about it and be ready to accept the challenges which are going to be coming along with, treading on that path. It's not going to be easy. It is going to be full of challenges. It is going to push you to come out of, a zone or an area which you have dealt with and you have not dealt with. And that not dealt with and that zone which is going to put you in that spot of being fearful is the one which is going to take you to success. It is the comfort zones which don't take you to that next level, unfortunately. I wish that was really true, but it is always that. So I think it's important to take risk. It is important to be very, very clear in your communication on what you want to do, what would be your next steps. And like I said, I can't, re-emphasize enough in terms of how we have to keep upskilling ourselves. So honestly, I don't think our competition is with anybody else. It is with our own selves. It is us who stop us from moving forward. Nobody else does.
Very well said. And as an entrepreneur, I can definitely tell you it's completely an uncharted territory.
Absolutely. I'm sure you were out of your comfort zone completely, Rajpreet.
Completely. It's a completely new world for me. And I'm learning completely, starting from scratch again. Yeah. So, Konika, we would also like to hear, some of those, really moments of truth or some pivotal moments, turning points in your career, and what really made you take those decisions, and if you could share a couple of them with us, would be great.
Sure. So I think while there are, I would say those moments keep happening, Rajpreet, where I keep realizing there is much more that I can do and how I can, rework on myself. But I think keeping in mind the theme that we are talking about, career being a marathon, and the fact that we have to invest and reinvent ourselves, I think I would like to highlight one such very important juncture in my life, which I think is important to share. From being a banker, when I started my career in the banking space as a business person, which I used to love, by the way, it was a very, very hard call when my son was born and he was about a year old. And I was supposed to be traveling and I was supposed to be, managing all the responsibilities when I think one fine day, and I'll tell you that one fine day was that I was on a tour and my son started walking and I wasn't around. And that really hit me very hard. And that was a point when I decided that, there is, and I don't think I have any regrets on that one. I'm very happy I took that decision, where I said that, I will have to decide what is most important for me. And that goalpost and priorities change with life. What is it that I want to do? I want to continue being in such an aggressive role, and can I do justice to the job that I'm doing? Because my mind is not here 100%. I'm still thinking about what's happening at home and what my son is doing, and I'm feeling I'm not being able to spend enough time with it. So can I go a little easy on myself for some time? Because I can't keep running. So like you said, it's a marathon. I can't be sprinting all the time. So I will have to take a pause. And that is the time when I took that pause. I re-looked at what my priorities are. And I think I am so glad that I got the opportunity of reinventing myself, understanding what my strengths are. And I started a completely new direction, which was in the field of HR. And I just loved it. And I think I am thankful till date that I did that. So I think taking that pause was very important, which helped me to think, refresh myself, re-energize myself, and come back stronger.
Wow. And I'm sure it requires a lot of courage to do that. And it's not easy. I can relate to it. And but I'm so glad you took the decisions you took, and it's not easy. And of course, and we can see the marathon that you have run and still running. So Konika, it's really been lovely to have you today on the platform. And we look forward to having you back with us once the iOS launch happens, and and you can just experience the app yourself. And it's an effort to build something which can connect a lot of women across India and perhaps globally as well in future. And a support system, a strong support system. And so happy to have you back with us soon.
Sure, Rajpreet, my pleasure. Wish you all the best, and I can't wait to be on the iOS platform and have the next conversation with you all. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Konika. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Bye. So we'll